What is up, everybody? I am Mason from the Mockbuster YouTube channel, and a buddy of mine, Ken, over at the Mid-Level Media channel, hosts these themed months movies, basically where we not challenge ourselves, but we have a theme of, like, we had Western month, we had Buddy Cop month, and this month is the 1984 month, basically talking about movies that came out in the year 1984. Over a decade before I was born, but I have a few, when looking at, like, the movies in my collection that came out in the year 1984, there are some iconic bangers, and one of, like, my favorite films came out in 1984, and I have a decent selection of movies that came out in 1984, so basically that is this video. I'll be talking about all the movies in my collection that came out in the year 1984. Starting off with one of my favorite movies of all time, that is Ghostbusters. I own the 4K Blu-ray, as well as the standard Blu-ray, as well as a sealed mint in-box copy of the VHS. I mean, I just have to. I mean, it's just one of those iconic films that's so quotable, so, like, ingenious, and rest in peace, Ivan Reitman. He just had all of the, it's just a perfect, not a disaster, but a perfect concoction of everything that can be right. You have writers and comedy stars within the film, like, so they're able to ad-lib and do all those things. It's just so funny, and the equation or the ingredient for the best comedy is that it's not just a joke, haha, funny movie. It's that it has a good story behind it, and this has a great story. It's great for watching on Halloween. You can just watch it whenever you want to. I watch this multiple times a year, and it never gets old. The jokes are always great. Such great performances as well from every single one of the cast. Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Sigourney Weaver, Harold Ramis, and Rick Moranis. Just a great slew of actors who give great performances, and this is definitely a highlight of 1984. If you haven't seen Ghostbusters for some odd reason, it's an amazing film, from performances, from directing, from writing, from the music, from the visual effects. It's just an all-around great film. It's not dated for being a 1980 film that came out in 1984 that has very heavy special effects. It doesn't date itself, and this 4K transfer is okay. I prefer the Ghostbusters 2 transfer, but it's still a good-looking 4K. And I gotta get the entire collection. Now we're getting into the elements of horror, and one of my favorite horror movies of all time that came out in the year 1984. You're probably guessing what it is, and that is the Nightmare on Elm Street. I have here the DVD as well as the Blu-ray, and I love this movie so much that I got the NECA figure. I collect these NECA figures, basically these, like, 7-inch, really highly detailed figures, and yeah, I just love this film. It still holds up. It's one of the scariest films out there because it fears on your most primal instinct. When you're the most vulnerable is when you're sleeping and you can't even defend yourself. If you die in your dream, you die in real life, and I had problems with nightmares. But this was one of the first movies that really kept my attention, that really, like, it was such an iconic film that, everyone's like, oh, Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger, that I watched this when I was so young, and it kind of traumatized me when I was a kid. But I just fell in love with the character, his wittiness, and although it did, get a little silly nearing the end of the series, this one just, it's so creepy and scary. And if Part 3 is the best campy Friday the 13th, this is definitely the best scariest one in this series. And rest in peace, Wes Craven. He was a visionary, and this is a great film, and I had to get it on Blu-ray. Hopefully we get a 4K set very soon, because the 40th anniversary is coming up in a couple of years. Hopefully Scream Factory does a whole, like, I would be good with the first 5 films, 6, maybe even Wes Craven's New Nightmare. But if we just get the first 5 films like they did with the Halloween movies, I'd be a happy camper, because I'd probably get 1, 3, 4, and 5. I'd probably just get 2 just to complete the set, because I'm an OCD like that. But yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984, great film. I'll be back. The Terminator on Blu-ray, one of my favorite. Again, so many good movies that came out in 1984. It's just countless, and there's so many other movies like Raiders of the Lost Ark, but Temple of Doom came out in 1984. So many other movies that came out in 1984 that I don't own, that I need to own soon. But yeah, the Terminator, in my opinion, the best Terminator movie out of the 2, or I guess 5, 6, if you want to count the other ones. But yeah, this is such a great film. I love its horror elements. I hadn't seen this movie for over 10 years, and when I rewatched this, when I started getting into physical media collecting, I was stunned by, you know, James Cameron's direction on, you know, taking a very serious tone on this. This is not like an action film like Terminator 2. This is a very slasher film. I would say this is one of the best slasher films. I mean, if you take into consideration what it is, you know, like an unstoppable force killing people in his wake, you know, even though it's like an android who comes from the future and stuff like that, but still, it's just a great film. The Terminator, hopefully we get a 4K, but I'm kind of weary on it because I think James Cameron also, you know, helmed the 4K transfer of Terminator 2, and that didn't really look that well. It was too much DNR. They re-edited the special effects and the color timing. It looked a bit weird. So that's why I'm kind of scared, but I also really want to see this in 4K and see what this would look like. But because this is one of my favorite movies, I had to own it as well on VHS. You know, I got this at my local thrift store, and I just love this artwork. This, like, what's it called? Not retro neon, like one of those retro neon looks. And of course, again, being that it is my favorite movie of all, one of my favorite movies of all time, I had to get the NECA figure, and it's just so good. It's so detailed and articulated. It's like it's my dream figure. I don't know if you will see, because I'm trying to focus on my face. But yeah, it's absolutely great, and I love this figure, and I love this movie. I mean, I can't get enough. And I'm so excited to hopefully get a 4K soon. Next is another iconic, so iconic film. Very quotable, very successful, and I feel like this movie, you know, I'll just get to it, and it is The Karate Kid. So many kids growing up watching this film signed up for Karate Kids. Don't you lie. If you watched this movie when you were a kid, you 100% signed up for karate classes. I did. I mean, my school, I grew up in a pretty rough neighborhood, so we had this program at our school called Karate Kids. It was basically an extracurricular, you know, after school type thing where you basically just do like exercises and whatever. I got to a yellow belt, so that's pretty cool. I can kick some fucking ass, but but yeah, you know, shoot the leg, yeah. You know, wax on, wax off. So quotable, and I need to get the 4Ks. I know they came out individually. I just never was able to pick it up or find it, and they made the trilogy set. It's just that it's a bit out of my price. It was $70 for, you know, two movies I don't really like. I love the first movie. The second movie is okay, and the third movie was just ugh. But yeah, the Karate Kid on Blu-ray, I had to pick it up. I got it for really cheap at the flea market. But yeah, Karate Kid. Another movie that a lot of people like, I haven't seen it yet, but it's still in my collection. That came out in 1984, and that was Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. I heard that is the best movie out of the Star Trek series. The reason why I haven't gotten to it yet is because I want to watch the whole series. It's on Netflix, so I need to get around to that. It's just their episodes are so long, and I'm watching movies, right? But yeah, I heard a lot of good things about Search for Spock, and I'm excited to get into it. I think there's 4Ks of these films, right? I'm pretty sure. But yeah, so Star Trek 3, The Wrath of Khan, or The Search for Spock. Next is a great film that I recently watched for the first time 2 years ago, and that is Gremlins. I love this movie. It's like, is it a horror film? Is it a Christmas film? I would say it's a Christmas film. It's in that gray area of Die Hard where it's like, is it a Christmas film? It is 100% a Christmas film. You know, he got the Mogwai as a present. You know, as a Steven Spielberg film. It's a great, it's you know, it had a lot of heart and depth to it. All the young actors, they gave good performances. The special effects and the puppeteering on this movie is absolutely amazing, and it's just a great watch. If you haven't seen Gremlins, I highly recommend it. Gremlins 2, on the other hand, it's okay. It doesn't live up to the first Gremlins, but damn, Gremlins, bro, ooh, great film. Next is another iconic horror film, and that is Friday the 13th, specifically the part 4, the final chapter. Some say the best. In my opinion, it is the best Friday the 13th film. So much so that I have the NECA figure, the final chapter. You know, a Corey Feldman joint. Not a Corey Feldman joint, but, you know, Corey Feldman's in it. It gives a great performance. When he was a kid, every, you know, role he took, he was able to embody that character and represent that community of people. Like the cool kid, all the cool kids could look up to Corey Feldman because he portrayed a cool kid so like realistically. Same with like the awkward, you know, nerdy kid who has, you know, underlying mental problems, and it's just a kid, just an innocent kid who's discovering life, and you know has his, you know, spoiler alert, but he has his whole family fucking butchered in front of him, or at least his mom. But yeah, great film, great horror film, very iconic. One of the most rewatchable movies out of the bunch because of not only is our main antagonist, or yeah, our main protagonist, very likable. Because that's one of the worst things about the Friday the 13th series. There's a lot of really, you know, unlikable characters, like teenagers that are just like dead meat that you want to see them get killed. But I feel like in this film, there's a lot of like characters that you want to. There's a few you want to see get killed, obviously, but there's obviously like Crispin Glover's character and his friend. They're likable. They're just teenagers, you know, like taking the piss out of each other, right, and just roasting each other. You don't really want to see them die and stuff, right? So that's one of the things I can amend part 4 for, and it is one of my most rewatched Friday the 13th films. It holds up so much, so well. And I love it. So I love the Friday the 13th series so much that I had to get the Friday the 13th, this like metal poster thing, whatever. I haven't been able to put it up yet because you need like a nail and stuff. But yeah, boom, Friday the 13th. And lastly, my opinion, one of the best gangster films of all time, Sergio Leone, the guy who made the iconic spaghetti western films, can also make an iconic gangster film, and that is Once Upon a Time in America. A very long film, 4 hours long, but oh boy. It just takes place in so many different areas. You know, you see him as a kid, then as a young teenager, and as a young adult, and then as a, an older man. And this is just a great film. If you haven't seen Once Upon a Time in America, I highly, highly, highly recommend this film. It is definitely long in the tooth, and it definitely does feel its length, but it takes you on such a journey throughout someone's life that it feels like Irishman in a sort of bit where it takes you throughout the character's entire life. I'm definitely going to give this a rewatch soon. I haven't seen this in a couple years, but I found this rare Blu-ray. Apparently this was really hard to come by, so I'm glad I was able to snag it, and I got it for like $8, which is a bit more than, a $5 Blu-ray, but for how rare this is, and for this being the proper, I think there's an extended cut. This is the extended cut. I know that this theatrical cut was like 2 hours. This is like 3 hours and 3 hours and 50 minutes, and the extended cut is like 4 hours and 12 minutes, I think. This is the, what critics say, this is the perfect one to watch. The other one is a bit, too much, adding, some scenes that aren't really that worth it. But wow, the performances in this film, just the grittiness and the realism. Sergio Leone, tries to portray this realism, and it just oozes, heart and art and, depth and just style. And it's one of those films that, stick with you, and it's I'll highly recommend. If you haven't seen this movie, check it out. Check this out with The Godfather and stuff like that. It's a great double feature. I mean, a double feature, you'll be sitting in the couch for like 15 hours to watch this movie. These are the Godfather movies. Okay, and that was my 1984 collection. Let me know down below your favorite movie that came out in 1984. For me, oh, dude, there's like so many. I mean, I want to say Ghostbusters because that's my most rewatched movie. I can rewatch it whenever I want to. It never gets old. But I also love The Terminator, and I also love Once Upon a Time in America. There's just so many good movies within a varying range. I know there's Temple of Doom, but yeah, Temple of Doom I think came out in 1984 as well. There's so many other good movies that came out in 1984 that it's just so hard to choose one. But try to choose. At least give me your top 5. So yeah, thank you so much for watching the video, mine. If you want to check out Ken's channel, Mid-Level Media, I will post a link down in the description. And if you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe. If you're into hunting videos, 4K Blu-ray reviews, collection updates, hauls, mail days, all those anything 4K Blu-ray DVD collecting goodness. If you're into that stuff, make sure to hit that subscribe button and stick a while because we got a lot of stuff to talk about. So I'll see you next time. I am Mason from the Mockbuster YouTube channel. Please, please, please have yourself a good day, night, evening, afternoon, morning. Whenever you're watching this, please stay safe and God bless.